I found out my husband is obsessed with our boss daughter. How I should proceed. For some context first, I 29 and my husband 34 work for a smaller MG firm here. We were both recommended through a relative of mine. I have been working here for about 6 years, my husband for about 7 years. During the work time, our boss would occasionally bring his then teenage daughter to work. She should have been around 15ish when we first met her, and had her interact with the employees and stuff to show her what we were doing, how things work, etc. Fast forward to January of this year, the boss brought her in, officially, letting us know that she will be taking over a good deal of his work overlooking things. We were initially hesitant, considering she was so young, turned 20 this year, but ultimately, she wasn't taking over, more so learning to handle the business, while the boss managed other work, I suppose. It helped that she herself was also very keen on cooperating and taking advice, often holding meetings to discuss things and making sure she herself is the last to leave work almost every time. It's been an overall good development in that regards. The issue started initially a few months after she started. She would occasionally hold office events, just to lighten the mood, and this earned her a lot of praise from all of us, since it's not something the old boss would have time to look into. We were all talking about her, so it didn't feel too weird at first when my husband joined in on the praising, how impressive it is she's so young but so mature, how she's been a breath of fresh air in the office, everyone's so motivated to work cause of her, etc. With hindsight, it seems like that was just his in on talking about her with me in general. Every now and then, he'd start singing her praises. When we're at home, a huge talking point always being how she's so mature for her age and understanding, even pointing out how we weren't at that age. I didn't take it much to heart, until one time I joked that it was fine if he was immature at times, and that I would love him regardless, and his response was something along the lines of, well, you were too, and like her. I think that was the first time I felt a bit bad, cause it felt like he actually was just comparing me to her now, but I tried not to think too much about it. This slowly spiraled too, going from talking about her maturity to looks, how she can still look good while being so busy with studies and work, how she, and I quote, was definitely more gifted compared to other girls, and once, out of insecurity, I asked if he thought she was prettier than me. He gave me a, of course you're attractive to me, but objectively, like, not considering my attraction to you, she is prettier. This messed with me for a while, and we ended up having a fight, where I essentially banned him from bringing her up with me if it's not work related. Also adding to it was the fact that he started taking extra work every now and then and working overtime, and while I initially thought it was to just earn extra money, I later found out it was simply cause he knew she usually heads home late too, usually after most if not all office employees left. Fast forward to a few days back, weekend happened, husband was out with his friends, and my laptop was at the repairs, so I used his laptop without his permission. We are relatively free with each other's devices, like, we never have a reason to use each other's devices. But if for some reason we did, the other didn't mind, so I didn't think much of it. I had put on some vids on autopay as background noise as I did some work. When I opened his PC folder and on the left quick access bar, there was a folder with their boss's daughter's name. I had to click it, and when I did, I actively couldn't believe what I was seeing. A folder of over 1,000 pics of her, screenshots from Instagram and other apps. Any and every pic he could find of her, and an insane number of pics, just taken without her consent, like, with either a hidden camera or his phone at the office. Ranging from her just sitting or working, to some from a high enough angle to get cleavage or down blouse, and even a few under the table shots, though those didn't have anything to show from what I had seen. This creeped me out, beyond anything, since it was almost impossible to place my husband, who I have always known as the sweetest guy for the 6 years we have been married, as someone who would do something like this. I was shocked and just didn't really know how to react. If I should feel disgusted or sad, angry, I didn't know, but then, it got worse. I used search to look up her name on his laptop and found something that basically turned any form of sorrow or sadness I would have felt into just pure disgust. He basically had a folder poorly hidden deep in a number of folders, just full of photoshopped pics of her, some solo, some with him, some with other members of the office, and some just absolutely vile and disgusting. I deleted all traces of me having seen or searched for those, though I doubt it was necessary, since my husband isn't the most tech-savvy to begin with. Took a pic of some of the shit I found and left the laptop. I was furious, but I also didn't want him to know yet, so I acted normal that night. And then the next day, I called up my cousin. She was pregnant and her husband was away, and asked if she needed help, and used that as an excuse to move in and help her for a bit. I have talked to my husband, though limited, mostly through text and occasionally at work, but for the last 4 days, I have been living with my cousin. Honestly, I am disgusted, but I also don't know what to do exactly. Like, I feel a mixture of being cheated on, which, I know he didn't do anything with her, but still, I can't explain it. But on top of that, I feel disgusted that my husband was this sort of a man. But even talking about it to my friends or family feels weird. I tried to share with my cousin, but the embarrassment didn't allow me to say anything. I just don't know what to do right now. I can't stay here forever. I'll have to head back sooner rather than later, but I also don't think I can just go back home and pretend that none of this happened, or I didn't see any of this. So thought this was the best way to stay anonymous and ask for some form of advice. What should I do and how should I progress?